Hey guys, so welcome back to another Christmas video here on my channel. Now, if you've been following my Christmas gift guide videos, you will know that I've mentioned that I'm going to make this video, and it's a top 10 tips or swaps for a more sustainable Christmas this year. Now, this kind of goes slightly against all of the gift guide kind of elements that I have been talking about over the past few weeks, because obviously that is kind of very much focused on gift giving. However, this year I have been making a lot more of a conscious effort to make sustainable swaps and changes in my life to live a little bit more sustainably, both in terms of my shopping habits and where I choose to shop and how much I choose to shop, but also in terms of my lifestyle as well. So because of that, I have made a few changes to the gift guides, which you guys might have noticed, but I also decided to make this video to share with you all 10 swaps that I'm going to be making this year for a more sustainable Christmas, because we all know that Christmas can be very, very wasteful and also very unsustainable in terms of the products we're using, the way we're disposing of our waste and things like that. So I thought I would just share with you 10 changes that I'm making. I'm not saying that I know everything about sustainability and how to have a more sustainable Christmas. This is just what I'm doing, and maybe some things that you guys might like to do as well. So my number one tip this year, and this is actually something that I mentioned in my gift guide for her video as well, is to consider gifting experiences or time to people. Now, this is an obvious one, but something that I think maybe it's good to be reminded of around the Christmas period, because there is so much around gifting and things like that. It's always a good idea to consider buying somebody an experience, whether it's a gig ticket, whether it's a day out, whether you're going out for a coffee and just spending some time together, whether you are gifting someone a babysitting voucher, which I would very much like to get this year for Christmas, and just gifting people. The gift of time is so special, and it takes a lot more than just kind of the monetary cost of buying someone a physical present. Giving them something that takes your time and effort to do is so much more special. And this is something that me and my family have been doing for the last couple of years, especially around birthdays and things, because as we've gotten older, our time together as siblings has become harder and harder to get everybody together and, you know, do something special that isn't just kind of meeting up and everything's wild with the kids. It's actually taking some time out and going and doing something fun as a family. That has become really, really rare, so it's almost extra special that we get to do it. So it's something that we focus on as a family, and it's awesome. It's cooler than any physical present that you could give somebody. My second option is to recycle. So whether you're recycling wrapping paper, which is something I've done for a while on really nice wrapping paper, but I'll definitely be considering it more this year, is to be careful when you're unwrapping things. If something's wrapped in wrapping paper that could be used again, you can unwrap it, take the tape off, and reuse the paper again. Now, this might sound like a bit scabby in terms of reusing it, but actually, if you are careful, you can do this. And I feel like there has never been a time where people are more conscious of sustainability and reusing and recycling things, so I wouldn't worry what people think. The other thing is reusing ribbon. This is so important, because ribbon is one of those things that is, if it's used just once for a present, it's such a waste of material, and a lot of the time ribbon will be made with plastic fibers in it, so it's not going to be biodegradable. You can use a natural option like raffia or something like that if you really want to tie your presents up with a ribbon, but reuse stuff. And also another tip I have, I always keep a box of ribbon. I have had this for years and years. This is my box of ribbon. As you can see, the stuff at the top is just ribbon that I've had on other things that I've been given, but I also have spools of ribbon and little bits of extra ribbon left over from previous Christmases. And this year I'm not buying any new ribbon. I'm just going to use up the old ribbon that I have, because I feel like it's such a bad habit that we get into, being like, oh, I have to buy old ribbon and wrap all the presents the same. You don't need a theme with your wrapping. You can just give everyone a different ribbon. That's totally fine. They don't get each other's gifts anyway. They probably won't see each other's gifts. So yeah, use what you have is another thing. I feel like we all get really carried away at Christmas with wrapping paper and ribbon and things like that, and buying lots of new stuff. The other thing with wrapping paper is to use recycled paper, wrapping paper, and make sure that your paper that you're using is recyclable. This sounds really obvious, but loads of wrapping paper, whether it has foil or sequin, isn't recyclable, often isn't recycled. This year I'm actually doing all recycled brown paper wrapping for my presents, as well as using up all my old ribbons. So just little things like that. You're still using something new essentially, but it has been recycled and it is recyclable. It's just worth thinking about those small things, and I think sometimes people don't. So I've also got some good tips if you want some ideas on how to reuse some of your Christmas stuff. My next video is going to be a DIY gifts video, which I haven't done for a couple of years. I used to do these videos and I love them. So I'm doing a little DIY gifts video for my next video, which will probably be up next week. So keep an eye out for that if you want some ideas on how to reuse Christmas stuff. My third tip is, actually that was my third tip with the recyclable. So my fourth tip is to do digital greetings cards for Christmas. This sounds like obvious as well, but I feel like most people who have email, who have Instagram, don't really care that much about receiving physical Christmas cards. I stopped sending Christmas cards to most of my friends and family a few years ago anyway, just because of time. But I feel like if you are one of those people that does send Christmas cards, A, make sure they're recyclable if you really want to, but B, send like digital ones to your friends that you know have email. I still send Christmas cards to my granny and Mike's granny because they don't have email, but apart from that, I'm not going to be sending any Christmas cards this year. It's wasteful. They look nice on display, but it is wasteful. Number 5 is to embrace vegan recipes in and around the Christmas period. Now I know this will be kind of a controversial one because I feel like if people are like vegan or plant-based, then they're going to be doing that anyway, and if people aren't, a lot of the time they feel very strongly about eating meat around Christmas. So I'm not going to say like replace your whole Christmas with vegan recipes, although that would be great, but definitely consider like vegan options maybe for Christmas Eve or Boxing Day. This is actually something Mike and I have been eating plant-based for a while now, and it's something that we have surprised a lot of our family with really delicious plant-based recipes. My family are massive meat eaters, and we have cooked a couple of times for them. They're like, wow, this is actually so delicious. So surprise your family, maybe cook them something tasty, a veggie lasagna or a veggie shepherd's pie for Christmas Eve. I think that's what we're going to do this year. Don't like force it on them, I feel like, but yeah, consider it. And that is my next tip as well, is to make sure you make use of your leftovers, whether or not they are meat or plant-based. Just eat everything you can. That sounds kind of obvious at Christmas, but I feel like Christmas is one of those time of years where we all have so much food in our house, and it is pretty good time of year for leftovers anyway. I know a lot of people make turkey curry, a lot of people do soup from the veggies, but make sure you think about it, and also think about how many people you're feeding and try and balance the food, right? I know in previous years in my family we've had so many leftovers that a lot of stuff ends up getting thrown away just because we've cooked too much, because you never want to have too little around the Christmas period in terms of cooking, but it's worth considering, and it also makes things go further as well. Next up is a point that I actually have always done, but I feel like for me, at least, people I follow on Instagram kind of give off the impression that you need to have a different theme for your Christmas decorations every year, and I think this is kind of crazy. And like buying new Christmas decorations every year, we have the same Christmas decorations for our tree we've had for years, since we first had a house and had our own tree, Mike and I. And I feel like, don't let Instagram or any of that like let you think that just because you've got old decorations on your tree that they're not as cool, because it's really crazy. The other thing as well is, if you're buying new decorations for a tree, if you've like recently moved into your own place for the first time, or you, whatever reason you don't have decorations already, is go for classic ones. I always think this because there's a lot of things with trees that are like trend, like rose gold, or say having like different specific colored trees. We've always just gone for like classic gold and red and green, like classic Christmas colors, and they never really go out of style. They just look very kind of traditional. You know, you can do what you want, but I think it is kind of crazy to buy new Christmas decorations every year, and there are a few people I know that do that, and I'm like, what? So yeah, make your Christmas decorations last. Buy quality ones too, not the ones that break. Number 8 is to consider buying vintage or secondhand gifts. Obviously, I spoke earlier about gifting experiences, but if you do really want to gift something that is material but also a more sustainable option, gifting vintage or secondhand can be really awesome. Obviously, it takes time to source it, so we don't always have that time to source all the different gifts, but if you're looking for something really special, definitely consider secondhand this year. And if you're looking for something, if you want something like high-end designer, I would definitely recommend Vestiaire Collective. If you're looking for something kind of fashion related and lower end or high street, I would definitely recommend Depop. eBay is also great. And if you're looking for something antique, I really like for online the Sale Room, which is where a lot of local antique auction houses list all of their items. So you can go on and bid online and then get things shipped or collect them. A little bit more difficult and requires a little bit more research, but if you're looking for something antique, so a piece of furniture or jewellery this Christmas, then a bit more niche, but it's really good and I use that website a lot. Number 9 is to buy gifts that are made to last. I feel like this is an obvious one, but also prioritize buying one nicer gift instead of lots of little gifts if that's what you tend to do. I know for a lot of people they just buy one gift anyway, but what I always think is a more is a better option for doing things at Christmas is to have your budget set out of what you want to spend on each person and then allocate like that spending budget for each person for one item. I don't know, often kids will want more and they think like quantity is better than quality, but in terms of sustainability and how things are going to last, I always think you're better off buying one nicer present as opposed to say 5 little tiny presents. Obviously everybody's budget is different, everybody's kind of priorities are different, but I feel like if you're spending a little bit more, things will last better. So yeah, just worth thinking about. Something that I constantly try and remind my mum about, because she's obsessed at Christmas with giving people like lots of little things and oh, nothing is never enough, and it's meant from a kind place, but I always think you'd be much better like putting all of that together and just buying one thing, and it would be a lot less time consuming as well. And then number 10 is to get crafty. Like I said, I'm doing a DIY gifts video next week, but make presents as well. This is also a really budget friendly option. This video is not really meant to be about budget, more about kind of just being a bit more considered and mindful of sustainability this Christmas, but getting crafty and making your own presents, reusing things. Like in my video I'm going to show you a few things like reusing shoe boxes and stuff to make nice presents out of. Kind of makes sense, right? I don't know. And also making your own present. I feel like if I get a handmade present at Christmas, I'm like, you put some effort in, like that's awesome. And it means a lot to people. Like if you're gonna gift them something or give them something edible, it's always good. So I hope some of you found this video useful and I'll see you again very soon. Bye guys.